Oh, hi everyone.
You sound tired.
I'm okay. I'm actually really pumped. I'm excited. I went to bed early last night, so I have a lot of energy today. I had a few beers, before the show too, so that always helps lubricate the vocal cords and stuff. So I know.
I always do my best to not pregame on Mondays because it's going to be a night like this where Jordan's not going to show up, and then you and I aren't very responsible together. Um, so
We don't play off of each other at all. It's fine. Well, hi everybody, welcome. Episode 32, which is like absolutely crazy. Tonight we're going to be talking to Dana and John again. You met them last week. And we also have a few guests from the mill at Vicksburg, which is a project that's been going on, gosh, at least a couple of years over in Vicksburg. I'll have to let Barry and Brian tell me exactly how long, but I don't want to ramble too much before bringing them in. So maybe we bring them in and let's see what everybody's drinking, I guess, and stuff, and then we can kind of get the ball rolling.
sounds good.
Brian, Barry, John. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Back if we saw you last week. And
Yeah, so we've got
Barry
Dana and
Brian,
John back hanging out with us again, which is awesome. More Kalamazoo Beer Week fun. And then Brian Bastien and Barry Travis from the mill at Vicksburg. So thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. I'm not going to try to get into old brew or old beer, new beer, or whatever. So why don't we get an introduction from Brian? Brian, tell us what you do for the mill and who you are.
So for the mill, I got involved with the mill. First time I went to the mill in 2016. Formally started working with the group late 2017. And effectively, my job is to make sure brewing is a very important part of the mill, the identity, and make sure the brewing operation, the business planning, and so forth is exceptional, just like the building and the property we've got, and distilling and other elements. But oversee that and work with the team to deliver.
Awesome. What are you drinking tonight?
I'm drinking a Corvus brew from Ravens Brewing at the Lincolnberry Line Goza. They actually won the gold medal at the World Beer Cup in 2018. So I've got a gold medal winning beer here because you guys deserve it.
Awesome. How about you, Barry?
Well, I've got my ornamental and educational beer here, which is a Dawson's Cone Top. When the beer can was first invented, brewers didn't want to invest in a dedicated canning line, so they could run these metal cans through existing bottle lines and cap them on top with a corkback cap. This is one for educational purposes. And then I've got a Black Stack Triple IPA, smooth and hazy. They're one of the top ones for IPAs in the Twin Cities area where I'm reaching you from tonight. So
awesome. And so for just your background for the educational, or the reason why you have the educational stuff is you're running the museum side of the mill?
Well, at first I thought it was kind of just an add-on or an afterthought, but the thing is gaining momentum in quantity and scope. And I was a kid that collected beer cans back when you'd have to scrounge deposited pop bottles for return, which you guys know in Michigan real well. We used to get a dime a piece for them, and aluminum cans. So you started a beer can collection. Your mom would get sent to child services nowadays for allowing you to stack empties in your bedroom, and you'd knock them down for a while. And then I got serious enough where I put them in shelves. And Schmidt cans were big. Les Kuba, a wildlife artist, did a set of 21 when I was a kid. So you'd always try to get these 21 cans, and I'm a buddy of Chris's, and I helped him get a beer sign in the 2000s or something. I said, dude, don't have it shipped to you. Go find it. It'll get screwed up in the postal service. And he trusted me, and that was the start of our beer relationship. So I'm helping him acquire and kind of wrap. I don't know it. He has a voracious appetite for old beer stuff, so it's pretty cool to see what's in there, and awesome. It'll be cool once it's done.
That sounds cool. Yeah, I've got a buddy that used to live here in Mattawan, had moved to Illinois, but he's a can collector and he writes for can collecting magazines. I'd go over to his house and look at his walls and his garage and his basement and all that stuff and all the cool cans and think, I do not need another hobby. My wife. So, all right. And then we got Dana. Welcome back. Dana from Kalamazoo, or Discover Kalamazoo, here repping Kalamazoo Beer Week again. What are you drinking?
Yeah. Well, I live in Vicksburg, so I've got another Distant Whistle beer with me tonight, and that would be the Backpackers Blonde. Their coffee blonde ale. So it's really neat because a lot of coffee beers that I've had have been darker, and this is one of the unique ones that's blonde ale.
Nice. So have you been busy this week with KBW kicking off, and how's it going?
Yeah, we started last Friday night, so we've had the weekend, and we're getting into the week here now. So was out at, of course, we had the guys from Final Gravity on last week, so we were out there for Friday night. They partnered up with Kelvin & Co., and they had some pretty unique sausages out there that they were doing with beer pairing, and it was great to see people. Again, we were outside. They got their space there is on the north end of the Kalamazoo Mall, so it's part of the Central Commons district downtown. So you can go and, for those that don't know, grab your beer, your cocktail, your wine too, and you can enjoy the Central Commons downtown. So I had to stop there and get a beer there, and then dash back home at Tempo Vino Winery. They're a new one that joined in with us this year since we morphed it into Kalamazoo Craft Beverage Week. And they actually sold out their virtual event. You picked up your kit, and then you could join in online, where Alex, their vintner winemaker, led us through a tasting of 4 different wines that were paired with cheeses from the Cheese Lady. And the last one was a blackberry wine that was paired up with a chocolate truffle too. So that was really nice. I had a great kickoff to Craft Beverage Week there Friday night.
That sounds awesome. And John, what did you get up to? What are you drinking?
I have the. Do I hold it up close? Bell's.
Oh, vanilla. No, you're going fancy tonight too.
So that's this year's Black Friday release, right, or something close to there.
Yeah, this was bottled on December 2nd.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was handed off to me by a friend. And then I opened it and realized it was a Monday, and it's a pretty big beer to start the whole thing off. So this may still be around for a while.
A few weeks ago, after like 2 hours of being on air, I decided it was a good idea to open a 3-year vertical at KBS, man. So just go with it.
I recall that.
So I'm actually drinking a Bell's beer too. I was in the general store this week and grabbed one of their GSE exclusives, that raspberry refresher. It's pretty decent. But since this is Vicksburg, I'm going to do a Time Lord's Regeneration next. So I got some whistle beer too. What are you drinking, Brian?
It's funny that like so many people are rocking Distant Whistle tonight. So I have
creme brulee.
2020 quarantine limited edition creme brulee coffee stout.
So we normally try to get beer from the brewery that we're talking to, but you guys aren't technically allowed to do that yet, right? Or are you actually? What do you guys? Well, let's back up. I'm just skipping ahead. What is the Mill Project, or what are you guys doing out there in Vicksburg? Let's start with that.
Yeah, that's a mouthful. That's a lot. Where do we start? So we've got a giant building, 420,000 square feet, 120 acres, that has been over time acquired by Chris Moore. You've probably all heard the story. If you haven't, I'll try to not skip any details, but Chris is a Vicksburg native. He left Vicksburg a while back to seek his entrepreneurial fortune. First living in Chicago, then Seattle. Always going back to Vicksburg regularly to visit friends and family. That's sort of the home of his heart. And his time in Seattle has afforded him the opportunity to do bold things, one of which is open up his own brewery in Seattle with his partner Brian Stan, another Brian, and it's spelled the right way as well.
Yeah, perfect.
And yeah, Chris is just, he's got a vision. He's got penchant for doing things that he's passionate about. And Old Stove Brewery was opened up in Seattle in 2016 and is now a premier location within Pike Place Market. So for those who've been in Seattle, I think it's the #1 tourist destination within Seattle. So all about great food and liquid. And then as Chris kept going back, we heard that this giant, the mill, basically the heartbeat of the economy in the region for almost a century, was being considered of being torn down, and he wanted to say that his grandfather worked there. I think his grandfather was a chief engineer, I believe, or something like that. His father worked there, and Chris even worked there as a young man. And yeah, he just wanted to make sure that history wasn't lost. So I think since 2014 was when things started along, and that was sort of the aha moment that here's an opportunity to do something very special. And ever since then, the sort of the ethos, the identity of the mill, and then how does this become success? How does Chris is an entrepreneur, as I said, he's got to think through the lens of a business, not just stating it, but how do we create something special? So over time, it's basically always had three key elements: brewing, live music, and events. And those three sort of form the sort of pillars of the ecosystem. Then there's very exciting elements within those pillars, or just sort of on the side, possibly. Obviously, the museum, as Barry can speak to, is a very important component. Hotel, all kinds of event space, all kinds of really cool space. I don't know if this is going to cause traction, but I joke that Chris is Walt Disney for beer and music. This place is so damn big. I remember going to Walt Disney as a kid, and I thought this was heaven on earth. And I imagine people who love craft beer would have that same experience if we get this all right. So, yeah, I don't know. Am I leaving anything out there, Bear?
No, that pretty much covers it, Brian. It'll be, well, I always say I would consider a kitchen or bathroom remodel daunting. And when I go out there and I see the masons using sidewalk chalk that my son uses for marking individual bricks, like, I expected when this thing was going to be remodeled, it'd be acrylic on the windows and maybe some tarps and stuff, but it is quality at every turn. I'm just floored. And with the brewery museum part, a lot of guys turn away big double-sided porcelain neon signs that used to hang outside of bars and stuff, but they've got the real estate for it, and they're going to celebrate. And I mean, my mind boggles at Disneyland's a good terminology for it. It's going to be awesome. I'm thrilled to, have a part or say in it. And I think most anyone would be. I mean, beer signs, if nothing else, they're visual stimuli beyond belief. They'll be lighted, cardboard, you name it, and you'll be able to have cold beer while you're perusing the old beer. So,
yeah, well, the one thing I'll add to that, probably self-evident, but one of the aspects of the ethos of the mill is to have fun. And I remember when I was first getting involved and I read this, entrepreneurialism, collaboration, community, fun. Like, that's a project you want to be part of, that recognizes the importance of that as making it successful. And to your question earlier, Jason, about beer, I don't have any Old Stove for you, but I can put the hat on. So I'm not really a hat guy, but that's for Seattle brewery. So there you go. I'll take it off now.
Brian, one of the things, though, that throws in the fun is Chris insisted, dude, you got to make it out to Old Stove. And I'm like, yeah, well, cool. I'd love to. But I got out there, and it was a good hour before I'm looking around, and there's a mural on the wall that some artist did. And by God, he snuck me in there as the pre-prohibition bartender. I don't know if he typed my photo off Facebook or something, but that was there's an element of fun right there. So I've had coworkers send pictures standing next to it, doing various things we can't mention here to my image out in Seattle, but it's pretty cool that I'm on the wall out there.
Just expand on that so you guys understand. There's this whole wall. It's a mural. Almost looks like a Cheers kind of. You remember the Cheers, maybe a generational thing, but the sort of animated background of Cheers kind of has that vibe. And then sitting there, I don't know, maybe our third time there, people are saying, "Oh, that's Barry." And I'm recognizing some of the people, but it's those little details. It's all, these sort of little details are very much part of what makes things that Chris gets involved with very successful and the premium sometimes overused.
You mentioned a hotel, and I didn't really know that was going to be part of it. So is tourism going to be like a big thing then? Are you planning on having like people stay out? Like,
yeah, absolutely. So I spent some time understanding about how this is going to be successful. Tourism kept coming up, and we didn't know, the old saying, or not an old saying, but a common saying, building the old come field of dreams. But really, what do we know about tourism in the marketplace? We connect with it to discover Kalamazoo. But I spent some time last spring putting together a study on brewery tourism, specific for the mill. I could go on about brewery tourism, happy to talk about it, but the way, simply put, what wine was in the 70s, almost commodity, that commodity out of California, that sort of the cheap clunk, maybe even out of Michigan too. It really wasn't positioned as a, the grape or as a special wine. And fast forward decades, wine tourism was a multi-billion-dollar industry. Craft beer doesn't have the same terroir as wine, but the data currently shows explosive growth in brewery tourism. So we're going to capture and participate in that market. Obviously, having hotels like in Vicksburg. If we were in Kalamazoo, it would be different, but obviously not a lot of hotels in Vicksburg.
So what other kind of, I've heard a lot of different things, and I don't know what's true and what's false, but you've got all this space. You said 400,000 plus square feet. We know that there's a brewery, we know there's a museum. What other plans do you have for that space?
Is it just one brewery? Is it just what you said?
Yeah. So I don't want to seem elusive, and really, actually, I think the museum is a more exciting component right now, but there's a lot of exciting elements, and I don't want to be vague, but we still got another 3 to 4 years before we cut the ribbon. And since I've been involved 3 or 4 years, it's almost like a giant game of Tetris. Like, how do we put this block in here? And we need this, and it's evolved, and so what I can tell you is brewing is going to be very important, and in many ways won't just be Old Stowe. Will be Old Stowe plus. There'll be a distillery. There'll obviously is a museum, which is great to talk about. Hotel, really cool spaces, almost tap rooms. Created intimacy. One of the problems with having such a massive building is, it's almost like it's almost like having a house party where you start gravitating to the kitchen because it's got that intimate space. So, obviously live music. So there'll be some stages. There'll be the outdoor areas as well, which will have walkways, and we've talked about sort of educational paths around the mill and outside. So when it comes to brewing, the process, but nothing. We're not reinventing the wheel. Things been done, but nothing as to the scale of the mill. So. Did I miss anything, Barry, about what we got?
I know there's been talk too of I'm a member or contribute with various vintage beer organizations, and there's been talk of having a convention out there, and those are kind of cool too because they have room-to-room trading, and basically the guys take over a hotel. You open up your doors, and everyone here is familiar with beer people. They're pretty sharing and generous. You basically lay out all your crap on 2 hotel beds and crack out the local beers. People feel free to, go in the cooler, have some of my local beers, and you buy and sell, and trade and BS, and but conventions of beer organizations have been discussed to be held there too, which would be a natural.
That sounds awesome. Yeah. We on the homebrew space, do you guys have anything kind of planned or in mind for that?
Yeah, I can't say much about it because, again, like, even, what I say now, what I will do is offer to give you annual updates, come on and talk about it if that has any value. But
Oh, beautiful.
Absolutely.
certainly homebrewing is the DNA of craft. Like, Larry Bell started off as a home brewer. He opened up a homebrew shop. Ken Grossman, Charlie Pazian, the godfathers really of craft beer were home brewers. And, Bell does a wonderful annual competition with homebrewing community. So we recognize that as an important opportunity. We've got a big historic component. As you can imagine, our building part of the National Historic Registry. We're trying to preserve everything as it was. And if you're going to recognize brewing history, as we do in the museum, well, the growth of craft came from homebrewing. So what we exactly do with homebrewing, if we were cutting the ribbon tomorrow, I have a very exciting concept for it. But I'm afraid that that may evolve. So, but definitely doing something fun and something engaging with the homebrew community, and something unique. Definitely nothing done before.
There's a great community in the area. It's why we started doing what we're doing. It's why we all got together. And I would say Brian and I in our club, we love our homebrew competitions. So you said the magic words there, man. If you can work out anything.
Sure. Well, when it comes to brewing and to a certain extent distilling, we want to design and build out a space that is a brewer's brewery. One of the wonderful things about, my roles in the last few years has been I have to go visit breweries. And, the breweries are like snowflakes. There's no good saying. There's always something to learn when you go see a brewery, whether it's about their beer or how they do things or whatever. It's always engaging. But, that uniqueness of our experience is going to be key. But also, this is such a big project. I've seen a lot of big projects that look as though they focus on the project first and thought about the beer second. Medium and large size projects, and that can't be the case for us. The beer first.
Awesome.
I like the beer first approach. I think we can all agree that we definitely appreciate a good quality beer.
And we might as well take this brief moment to say if anyone in the listening audience has any vintage memorabilia that they have questions on, an old forgotten basement bar that Grandpa and Grandma have stowed something behind, I'm your guy. So look me up. Happy to answer questions.
It's funny that you mentioned that.
Oh, no, it's coming back.
Yes.
It's a video window for him. 7 o'clock.
My grandpa passed away a couple years ago, and I ended up with some old stuff from him. I think one of them is it's a clock. It's a Ham's clock, basically. It's not neon or anything like that, but as far as I know, it still works. Just plugs right into the wall. I don't have it hanging up or anything like that right now, but I don't know if that's anything that you guys need or want, but I'd be happy to give it up.
And what's weird is I didn't learn until one of these Beer Geek conventions. They've got a hospitality room, and I was just riveted by an old timer in the Detroit area holding court in there. But Michigan's got all these weird liquor laws that Ham sign is probably unlit. I found variations of Michigan signs that there's no bulb and there's no starter and no apparatus. Well, that's Michigan for you. No, they're not allowed to have illuminated tavern signs. So
interesting. Huh.
So, speaking of Hams, because that's close to our hearts, I have to call out. I will. We'll put a link there. But right before the show, Tyler from the mill sent over a link to the trailer to a video that you guys are going to be releasing, I think, on Friday to kind of highlight the mill. And And I watched the trailer, and Barry, you're prominent in that quite a bit, and you're in front of like a ham sign, and you've got some hamsware, and I was just I really enjoyed seeing that. We're actually all big supporters of hams. I've got for some reason that's Keepers of Craft's macro lager of choice, man.
And they did have I think all the Chicago homebrewers had the macro challenge, and hams came out on top. And how can you beat a 30-pack for the price?
I know.
The cube. Oh.
Yeah. We're actually our February meeting for Keepers of Craft. We're doing a sensory meeting. We're going to taste a couple of beers and talk about it as a club virtually. And we were going back and forth about what beer do we want to try, and it's the season. So we've got Hop Slam. So we're going to do, we're going to drink Hop Slam together. And then we thought, well, we need some other kind of neutral beer. And we decided on hams for some reason. David Jones in chat is our club president, and he declared it so. So we are going to be drinking Hop Slam and hams, or what we're referring to now as the Ham Slam. And they do mix well together.
And just in case the wife says you can only have one,
there you go.
Oh my gosh, what is that? That's crazy.
That is a beautiful ham
It's
slam.
an ice bucket. So
It doesn't have to be.
no. That's a recommended use.
Mm-hmm.
I have a Pilsner glass that's like that, like this. I think it takes a 12-pack to fill up, but it's not an ice bucket, it's a damn glass. So
I got one of those for Christmas. They sell them all around, I think, but it takes like a 6-pack or so, and it says like I'm down to 1 beer a day.
yeah.
Oh man.
So for the project, just to clarify, and you probably referred to this already, but you are going to have Old Stove branded brewery in the location for sure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's our anchor in many ways for the mill. It's great brews, a bit of a West Coast vibe, so it's going to have this really interesting injection of a West Coast vibe into the region, but also, part of the brewery tourism data I was researching came across the fact that Michigan has got the second largest number of crops after California in the U.S. And that diversity really lends itself to obviously Old Stove evolving or becoming, Old Stove 2.0, whatever we come up with, but we're obviously not going to neglect that bounty of opportunity. So Old Stove will, yes, absolutely have a very important component to the mill and very much a showcase brewery. But beyond that, we plan to do other things. The distillery, we played around with, we had a sunflower field, and we had a apiary out there. So, we'll likely do some mead. Again, it's history. So we're going to try to harken back to the time where people kind of made things to drink whatever they had, right? Like, it wasn't exactly a supply chain across the country shipped by Amazon. People grew what they could, and distilling leans on that heritage more because it's a little versatile. Basically, anything with carbohydrates you can distill that grows out of the ground. But and then the benefits of having a brew distillery to fuel innovation, play around with it. In cider, I think it's the second largest or third largest. Michigan's got a massive apple market, and not too far from us in the Southwest, mostly along the lake. But we'll make some refreshing cider because we're a destination, and we'll host events. There'll be those people who, want to drink in their lane. They're a white wine drinker. They're a bourbon drinker. This is what they drink. They're not necessarily craft beer drinkers, which are a little more adventurous, little more curious about local flavors. So yeah, we'll have to check a lot of boxes, and it will be fun. Like I said, try to embrace the history of the building and the region, and yeah, make some delicious liquids.
So I don't know if this is something you've mentioned yet, and the description on your Facebook page kind of hints at it, maybe like with the inclusion of the name of the brewery, Old Stove, and crop products. Have you considered like craft malting, like malting your own like grains and stuff like that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. We looked at a New Orleans I mentioned before this. I worked for. We had this 5-ton malting drum. We've been looking at all kinds of things. Really, this is one of the exciting things with the project is there's no bad ideas. I don't think the malting drum's high on the list right now. The craft malting is growing, and we definitely want to support local barley and malting. But I don't know if that would happen. We definitely want to do some fun and exciting things beyond what you would see in a typical brewery, a few more toys to fuel the innovation. But yeah, the malting piece at this moment in time, likely not.
Sure.
That could change.
Yeah.
The one thing I should mention, actually, and Barry could probably help out on this, is the name Old Stove. So, Chris and Brian want to pick a place that was like the hearth, the warm place people have to gather around in the history, that embraced around that era where people didn't have the flat screen TV and the central heating. There was that people gathering around the stove for warmth and good conversation. And Southwest Michigan was a big region for producing these old stoves. So Chris, just like with all the beer, breweryana gear, with Barry has been collecting old stoves around the region, restoring them. So that'll be another really cool experience, is seeing this craftsmanship that was developed and celebrated a while back. And whether there's a hotel, wherever they go, that on alone will be fun to explore with a beer, just to see those.
And I saw in our chat here that Old Stove has an old Kalamazoo made stove. That was said?
That thing is pimped out too. It's fully chromed, and I haven't been out. I know the tap room was kind of a placeholder until they built out the full-fledged deal, and that was one of the first, wasn't it, Brian? One of the first, the only additions in 100 years of Pike Place Market. So they had a kind of a placeholder, but the Kalamazoo stove was a centerpiece in both the mural and a physical one. And I know things have been discussed whether I don't think they can have fully functioning ones with wood delivery in the hotel rooms, but I think with fiber optic or LED lights or who knows, but that would be pretty cool to have one of those in each room. I mean, there's all sorts of crazy brainstorming, but it'll definitely be a focal point of the place, and a museum, I believe, for stoves too.
Yeah.
So,
they are being restored right in Vicksburg, actually. Tom Hardy is basically doing that. He's been trained and continues to study on the nuances of restoring. And so it's all coming together. So every passing month and year.
That's awesome. So Barry, what kind of plans do you have for the museum? Like, do you have any ideas for exhibits or anything already sourced and picked out, or?
It's kind of scary asking me because I have a vivid imagination, and I don't know and when I go out there, when I went out for that the video too, I've just happened to take in all the stuff that's been acquired, and thankfully they've got a gal, Mindy Reno, who used to work in the steel industry, and she goes, "This is old hat, not Old Stove for me," but she used to handle 300 different SKUs of steel through 10 or 12 different steel plants, but she's got to categorize and wrap and itemize, and they've got a guy entering them. And if you look online on the Mill Stove site, it's just a visual treasure trove of advertising. I'm blown away. I'm trying to tell Chris that maybe we need wheeled carts or something. We need to rotate the stuff in because my mind boggles at the stuff, Michigan and otherwise, but it'll be celebrating regional breweries, not any of the big boys. You know, they've got a huge platform already. They don't need any help, but all these little breweries, you know, Drury's, Geyer Brothers, gosh, there's so many in Michigan that were just regional players, and they meant a lot to the region and the employment, the sports teams they sponsored, the you know, just they were a good thread of the community, a valuable player, and produced a lot of advertising. So luckily it's been preserved, and it'll be leveraged and displayed and celebrated and explained. And if you want to go down a deep rabbit hole, it will be there. But if you just want to take in cool signs, you can do that too. So
I remember hearing about all the acquisitions for the museum, and I had this image. I'm sure everyone here has seen the movie Raiders of the Lost Ark. When the movie ends and they've got the Ark, the U.S. government's now confiscated it, and they just zoom out and it's going to this big room, this box. They zoom out, you just see this bigger and bigger room of boxes of where it's going. Sort of had that image, all the signs and paraphernalia that were being gathered. Just like,
or a good example too that comes to mind is up in northern Minnesota, up north, you know, there was a gal that had a full-size hand-painted, I think it was a 6 or 7 piece outdoor. And in those days, they were supported on metal frames and hand done, but a Ham's billboard. And normally I would say, you know, nobody's got room for that. I don't know what I would do with it. But then with the mill, I mean, this is a perfect funnel to take that thing and throw up on a wall for photo ops. I mean, it's got flanking beer mugs and it's got reflective lettering. And I'm just like, oh, to move a piece like that to a grand stage is like, that just does my heart good. It'll be displayed and appreciated. So, and the subject of hundreds of conversations, you know, it'll bring back nostalgia. Everyone's got a beer memory. So.
Oh, it's amazing. Awesome. What happens to something that big, you know, when people run out of room for it? Like, you know, maybe it gets burned. Like, you know, it has no significant value to them anymore or something. Like, I don't know. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad stuff like that's being preserved. That's so cool.
So, I don't want I don't want Dana and John to get bored here.
No, this is fascinating.
How did you get tied in with the mill? How does KBW work in with this? These guys they're not even open, right? They're not gonna be open for a few years. So what are you guys doing together for KBW?
Yeah, well, that video that you mentioned there, being in Vicksburg here, I've actually had the opportunity to go on a tour of the mill with Jackie Coney. And so she is actually also on our advisory council with Discover Kalamazoo. So it's important for us as we look at, you know, we market all of Kalamazoo County, and an enormous project like this, especially with the implications it's going to have for bringing tourism to our area, it only makes sense that, you know, we are staying in contact with one another and looking at how we can support each other's efforts. Even so, actually, as she and I were talking about, you know, the potential for there will be, you know, some kind of visitor center there too, as we've talked about how this is going to be a destination for people as well. Just knowing about what there is to do in the area, what else, you know, while they're here, like all the things that Kalamazoo County has to offer. So we've been in touch, and as we knew that the, you know, brewery and the beer museum were going to be big parts of this project, we thought, well, okay, with this year's kind of virtual hybrid event, that format really lended itself well for having some other educational opportunities and videos and things that we could share with people, you know, from the comfort of their homes. So that's where we kind of got the idea. I started talking with her and said, yeah, is there maybe something that we can do? We started talking about this, I think, back in the fall, at the end of summer, you know, thinking ahead to the event and looking at, what ways could we tie the mill in with Kalamazoo Craft Beverage Week? And this idea quickly came together. I'm really excited to see the video. I mean, I know y'all put that together so quickly, and that's going to be premiering this Friday at 7 p.m. You can watch that live on the Mill's Facebook page, and we've got it linked up on the Kalamazoo Craft Beverage Week site as well. So, grab your favorite beverage and tune in so that you can see more of the backstory on the Mill project. And then I think there's going to be some stuff there shown too, maybe some little known history or facts, but with the beer artifacts as well.
Yeah, like I said, look like some cool ham skiers. So definitely check it out.
We should probably say like a quick shout out to Taylor Kaleo too, right, from Altera Media. I think he's the one that we've been in contact with for the last week or so. And what a cool dude. And I think he's the one that's helping put together that video that you're talking about. So yeah, it's just amazing.
Yeah, I meant to look. I know he sent us the link to the teaser earlier. I don't know if that's out there. Like I said, I'll check, and then we'll share the link here so that the people watching can check it out. But then, yeah, Friday, the full release will come out. It looks neat. Really can't wait to see that.
He's really good too at stitching, as you'll see, just the editing. I know he's working furiously and probably not watching this, but some of his drone shots and, his vision and doing things, you'll see these dramatic shots, and he's pretty talented dude that likes beer too. So a friend of ours.
He used to, his old, I don't know if it's like his old company or whatever, but like he used to be part of or own like Kalamazoo Aerial Media. Is that what it used to be? So yeah, no, that's all of his drone stuff. I've kind of stalked him a little bit. It's just, like amazing. I do that. I like seeing what talented people are up to. So
absolutely, yeah. No, I'm looking forward to learning more about it. So I heard a rumor once, and this could be just total bullshit, and that's fine if it is. But I had heard even that you guys between Kalamazoo and Vicksburg were talking about a potential rail line, or is that complete BS?
I heard of a bike trail.
A bike trail? Okay. I heard some like mass transit thing because you guys are gonna have this like Disney World type event out there, and I heard there was.
It may have come up. My guess is it's not. But my thinking, regarding that, but it's a good point. How do I sort of envision, my dream for the beer lens is in brewery tourism. People coming from Chicago or Detroit, coming into Kalamazoo Station, almost having a valet service where there's bikes and there's a bike trail. We have a halfway point where they can have a nice fresh beer, and it's a big event. We got some yurts out there where, a VIP experience. And I just, logistically, we do need to understand how people get there. And that's part of this several year process. It's not just the internal guts of the building. It's also how do we make this feasible on a day-to-day, week-to-week, summer, winter feasibility. And, certainly coming from Kalamazoo, you don't want everybody driving. And the more we can encourage people to come other ways, that train line would be great.
If we could get a bike trail, that would be awesome, right?
Yeah. I don't know too much about it. Jackie knows more than I do. Actually, you probably do. But that would be fantastic to just experience. Again, the beer's always going to taste a little bit better when you got a bit of a thirst going, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know I've heard about, Jackie's talked about, the potential for bus tours and things to come in, and how the front, will be structured to allow for those buses to turn around. And I mean, plenty of parking out there too. I mean, the outdoor spaces and areas are just as impressive as the inside in the building too. And kind of hearing, the vision with some of those outdoor, concerts or festivals. That's really exciting. And things too, like we have the fall bike celebration in Vicksburg too. So, and that kind of goes along with the quilt trail, and so I could see the potential there for many different ways to.
There you go, John. just set up a trolley, man. West Michigan Beer Tours, just the Circle Tour.
Yeah.
Or a shared bike program.
Rickshaw drivers.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah.
There's bike manufacturers in Detroit, Detroit Bikes and Shinola. So, yeah, a shared bike program or something would be nice. But not exactly practical in the winter, but yeah.
Or the pedal pubs too, where you can pedal around while you have your beer too.
True, yeah.
I think the pedal pub tour would be great to get some people on downtown Kalamazoo and say next stop Vicksburg.
Might need to outfit them with a porta potty too.
Well, don't forget there's a number of good stops you can make all the way down too. You can break it up real nicely. So.
Totally.
Oh,
But
there is. I mean,
The Schoolcraft watering hole is closed though, haven't they? The Lone Bar in Schoolcraft, I believe.
yeah, Buds is hopefully temporarily out of business, but yeah, you'd have to shoot down Portage, right? And
Yeah, get to Presidential, latitude 42, one well.
Yep. Yeah. There's some options there. I think there's some room for entrepreneurial. There's some business opportunities there.
Easy for you to say.
Let's see, what do we got?
Drew, we were talking to him a little bit before the show started. Drew Doster, who was starting Doster Brewing Company over in Vicksburg, there says extend the PCBP trail. What? I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
Portage Creek Bicentennial
Park Trail?
Pathway.
No, that's the
Dana,
Portage Creek Bicentennial Park, I think.
that's the big multi-use trail that's behind you, Brian.
Is that what it is? Okay, I didn't realize it had like an official name like that. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna jack this up now, but it's like I think 7 or 8 miles of paved multi-use or something like that through Portage. My wife runs it.
The whole thing before.
Yeah, David's right off of it. But whatever. Anyway, yeah, there's a trail there. It should be extended down. More importantly, because I haven't been paying attention to chat and I missed this, and I apologize. But Connie, if you're still watching, hi.
Yeah.
Connie, everybody, that's Brian's mom.
Me, Brian. Hi, Mom.
That's her hop son.
Yeah.
Well, the
She hops into video
whole
chat
Portage
sometimes.
bikeway itself is 55 miles worth of trails,
Oh, wow.
but I don't know how much of that is specifically the.
Yeah, I think I was thinking just the where we start and end. It's part of the Portage Winter Blast Trail, and I think like 9 miles of that is on the Bicentennial Trail, and then the rest of it's on like Lover's Lane and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then down by Shaver area, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Right on. What are we missing here? Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
On a side note,
If we press through.
Jason, with your connections and the people that are watching, we had a beer gathering out in Kalamazoo, and that's where I got introduced to the diverse and beautiful beer world that is where you guys live. If anyone is connected with Sean over at Old Dog, he has got a Minnesota beer sign in there that deserves to be in the mill or in Minnesota. So if peer or beer pressure could lean on him in any way, I would be indebted to any or all of you.
I don't have any personal connection with him. John says he's got his cells, so we'll see what we can do to make that happen. I know who he is. That's
I have a
awesome.
story about post craft brew, pre Old Dog, that would have to be told at other times. But Sean was heavily involved in it, and Barry, he's got a number of buildings and a pretty crazy collection of all sorts of good old stuff, beer and otherwise. So,
Well, there you go.
We were
There's your
talking,
connection, Barry.
We were talking last week. after showing, and like we need to get John on, just have him like tell us stories for a whole episode, just like the John story episode, because you have the best stories.
My close friends and my wife are going, no.
Well, you know, John, we'll give you that like black screen. We'll change your voice, whatever. We'll do whatever it takes to make it happen. We'll edit this out.
A typical story should go like this, right? Starts here, comes all the way around, and finishes there, right? Mine will go like that. It'll go that way. It'll go that way. And then 45 minutes later, I have no idea what I was supposed to finish on. And then 3 weeks later, we have to close that loop. So
that's how a lot of these episodes go, man. We're used to that here. This is the perfect format for it. We could be 6 episodes out and then go, oh yeah, we're gonna have John back to finish that up. Just have him jump right in.
Do you guys mind if I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
I have a friend of mine gifted me this. It's really hard to read the label, but it's an old Kalamazoo Brewing Company bottle.
Oh wow!
So I'm assuming 100+ years old. I was curious. And Brian, you could probably answer this too. Are local people that may have some local beer history stuff? Are they able to lend you things once the museum portion gets up, or like where?
I would think, that we would have a dedicated spot for loaners and such. And I think there's another brewery museum in Potosi, Wisconsin, that collectors are able to fill a showcase for maybe a year and tell the stories. But that bottle that you showed was actually bottle cap era. You can tell by the top of it, the older blob top bottles, which were sealed with a Hutchinson stopper, like your Grolsch beer that would have a wire bail and a porcelain stopper. But that would be bottle cap era, still well over 100 years old. But there is a dedicated group of people that seeks those out. And there's a local guy here in the Twin Cities, Privy Diggers, which is a glorified name for an outhouse. But I guess as it was reaching its life expectancy, people would throw garbage in them. And there was a dedicated privy spot on every lot within the city. But there are guys that'll go in there and find out where it is and dig it up and find intact bottles like that. And those are embossed bottles. Those may or may not have labels on them, but that's definitely a gem there.
Yeah, Kalamazoo Brewing. That's really neat. Like I kind of have some envy there. I'd like to have one on my shelf. That's neat.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, it's fun.
Sticking with the history bit, something that's maybe worth mentioning is, this preservation of brewing history has been recognized not just by us and others, but even the Smithsonian. So about in 2018, I think it was, the Smithsonian worked with the Brewers Association. You may not know this, you do, but decided to work on preserving and curating American brewing history. So now Smithsonian has a dedicated space in DC and in continuing to archive the history. So there's a full-time curator. Now her name escapes me, but Teresa McCullough. And the one of the cool things was about the history of how people consumed, and I'm kind of going down a rabbit hole because I don't want to tell too much about how we may or may not embrace this, but the point being is that there's a national recognition that this brewing history is an important part of American culture and needs to be preserved. So do our own little part in Vicksburg.
Hell yeah.
And brewers, John, piggybacking off your bottle, those were in the days when they were like meat markets or bakeries, when you had a dedicated horse and wagon that would home deliver a case to your house. And those would be from those days or bigger brewers would utilize the rail lines past the horse and buggy, and that's how they established themselves beyond their own local boundaries.
Yeah, I was up in Keweenaw several years ago, and stop by one of those up in the Upper Peninsula. But it was one of those roadside antique stores, and they had a number of really old Kbw Brewing Company bottles from decades and decades ago. And apparently, when the brewery closed, there were all those unused bottles. And as the story goes, I guess people were just chucking. They'd finish their beer and then just chuck the bottle into this lake. So it was kind of like the local drinking spot or whatever. And I guess decades after the fact, people realized there's all these somewhat valuable collectibles of local history. So people would put on a wetsuit and go down in this little lake and pulling these things out and sell them to an antique dealer for $15. They turn around and sell it for 30, and some sap like me comes and pays whatever. And so, and if it matters, I didn't even make it back to our accommodations for the night. It somehow toppled over the back of my car and broke before I even got to.
Another John story.
Oh, John, I'm going. I'll be back in the QAnon in a couple of months. My daughter is going to school there, so I'll look for one for you, man. I'm not there all the damn time.
I'd appreciate it.
So
pretty.
Yeah, we were just up there 2 weeks ago. My wife wanted to go see frozen waterfalls, and I mean it's beautiful, but yeah, it's cold enough down here. I don't need to be.
Is that the one? I think I've seen it where it's just it's not even, well, there's one that's not even really a waterfall that I would say, but it's just the ice kind of forms. It's like the ice caves.
There's hundreds up there.
Yeah.
So just there's so many little tributaries and rivers and streams and stuff in the Keweenaw, flowing down into Lake Superior. We went and stopped and saw, I think, 4 or 5, and that was just like most of those were just from what you could see from the road. So there's just so many. It's really cool. But my daughter decided to go. She goes to Michigan Tech. Stepdaughter, sorry, and she started going there. This is her second semester, and when she decided I'm going to go to school in the Upper Peninsula, we're like, you don't even know what snow is. Like when you're driving up past Houghton into the Keweenaw, there's a roadside sign that is 35 feet tall, and it has highest snowfall recorded, and the line is all the way at the damn top. Their average snowfall year was well over my wife's head, and she wanted me to take her picture with it. So I got my phone and I'm there, and I kept having to move back, and I wound up having to go back like 200 yards down the road so that I could get the whole line with my wife standing next to it. So it's a different world up there, but well. Barry said, Brian, you're from Canada, right?
Yes, I am. I'm in Canada right now, British Columbia.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. In normal times, a 2 and a bit hour drive to Seattle. So I can get some fresh old stove when I need it. And again, normal times, but yeah.
Right on.
I really like your shirt, by the way. Your MI, yeah.
I don't have enough reason to wear it these days.
So when this thing gets off its feet and it's moving, are you coming out this way?
That's the idea. Yeah, very excited for a lot of reasons we got involved with this project, and I'm quietly, well, maybe not quietly, logging to use. Have you guys seen a layout of the building, the mill?
Yeah, there's a few posted to the Facebook page and website.
So you may have noticed sort of a courtyard. There's the east wing and west wing, and there's this big courtyard, almost like a natural amphitheater that we can utilize for a lot of things. And I'm quietly lobbying to turn that into an ice rink in the wintertime, so we can play some hockey or do some curling and have some fun. We won't get the snow as the Upper Peninsula has, but might as well enjoy the winter, have some fun.
Hell yeah. Who is it that does the curling?
There we go.
Is this working?
Stormcloud Brewing has. Oh yeah, that's cool. Can you zoom in?
Whoa. Hello.
Looks like cleaning out a mash tun.
Modern times, whatever.
So the part that you can see from the road today is the front of that, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
The other side, actually. If you're
the other side, where the
back
event
here.
space back here is.
Yeah, where you see the old
road.
stove. That depending on where you approach it, that'd be the front from the main the highway there. And sort of, it's not quite on spot, but the powerhouse stage is that sort of amphitheater that I talked about. There's the west wing, which has the hotel residential unit, and then the east wing, which will have the museum. And this is where it stands right now. This is how we're going to populate the mill. And then, yeah, that's that sweet little spot. How awesome would it be to have a hockey game right in the middle there?
That's awesome.
I would like to throw this out here because he has a great idea, but a place for the local homebrew clubs to meet would also be amazing. And we're poor, so we really can't afford to pay for anything like that.
Do you drink beer?
We'll drink beer. We'll drink all the beer.
Right.
Yeah, we'll buy the beer.
But to have a place that doesn't also host other trivia events or have music blaring, we try to move around, and it's hard, meeting in local breweries who are open to the public, and I get it, they need to pay their bills.
We want them to make money, yeah.
And we want them to make money, but having meetings in local breweries is tough, especially when you're trying to do a presentation.
Well, I said before, I'll say it again, with 420,000 square feet, we've got room. And frankly, one of the challenges, and there's lots, and they're all wonderful challenges, but how do we operate this thing in a November versus a July? And how do we make that visitor experience always wonderful? But we will have to close off some areas because it's just, if it's a Monday in November and there's 200 people in the building, it doesn't make sense to have lights on everywhere. But obviously, we want to utilize those spaces if we can. So, yeah, I can't imagine a better use for some of these spaces than having a local homebrew club. Perfect. And in doing more than that, again, I won't necessarily go into the details of it, but ideally, whatever you can imagine, and then some.
Excellent. Well, I really appreciate you guys joining us tonight and hanging out, sharing your story. It's really been great listening and getting to know you guys. And I can't wait for it to open. Do you have a date, like a goal? I know we've said 3 years.
Yeah, so it's kind of a moving target. If you asked that question 2 years ago, it would be 2021. We were pretty ambitious at that point, and really wanted to. The original plan was to sort of phase it out. We got such a big building. Let's just open up perhaps the east wing first and then progress. But the latest thinking is it doesn't make sense. We want to have a really impactful grand opening, and that means completing everything and then cutting the ribbon. And that's the plan now, and that would mean likely late 2024 or 2025. But stay tuned for more updates.
Well, we're happy to do annual updates with you on Michigan Brews as long as we're around. We'll have to. I've got your email address, so we'll hook up and we'll get regular updates on the mill. Awesome.
Sure.
All right. Well, hey, thanks everybody. Really appreciate it. And if you're hanging out this week, go check out the Kalamazoo Beer Week website, find an event, go support a local brewery. We'll get the link posted again. But yeah, cheers.
Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much.
Let's do this in person at the mill. That's our goal. Mutual goal.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, we're with you.
All righty. And I'm losing my stuff.
Jason's gonna do our little intro, and I'm gonna talk throughout it. And
It's part of our thing, and it's kind of so
Cool.